The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now your host, Nicole Hutchison.
Cowboys Nation, happy Wednesday. Woo! Welcome into Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, right here in the SWBC studio. I'm Nicole Hutchison alongside Aisha Morrison, Jess Navarez, and Jazz Monet. Y'all see what I did
It's
there?
getting good.
Wow. It's getting better.
Like, the pitch is...
You feel me? It's almost there.
You got a set note to hit now, so I think you can hear the note before
Jess, how do you
real
feel
singer
about it? 'Cause that's
here.
your name.
Real singer.
I mean, I let her do her thing. She's a host, so
that's crazy.
Do you feel like you've ever had somebody do that to your name, though? Because I feel like that's glorious.
Like that?
No.
But you don't,
I just feel like...
I'm the only person who ever says my name, so that's yeah. Well, Nicole sings it, so you would be correct.
I have to add a little razzle-dazzle. You know, it wouldn't be me if I didn't. But anyways, ladies, big story today. We'll get to the practice report in a little bit and just a few minutes with Jazz. But no, we have Brandin Cooks, who is going to be out for quite some time. It's reports say about 1 to 3 weeks, but for sure he will not be a go for the Steelers game on Sunday. It is reported to be a knee infection following the Giants. He had a knee injury. A little bit of a mix of what's really going on there, but we saw Jane Slater's tweet. Shout out to Jess for pointing this out for me. And she said that a source told her that the Cowboys were aware of the injections that wide receiver Brandin Cooks was undergoing in New York post-game, described it as a common solution to avoid a scope for the meniscus. So the knee got infected when he returned to Dallas. Dr. Dan Cooper, that's the team doctor, then scoped it clean out the infection and smooth out the meniscus issue. And they, quote, said Brandin should feel great in about 1 to 3 weeks. Jess, you also found another tweet following that with a doctor of how this possibly could have really played out. Go ahead and read that for us.
So you go to Jane's Twitter, and then under the responses, Jesse Morris, who is a sports medicine physician that covers NFL injuries for injury experts, on Twitter, tweeted this. And again, want to preface, this is not Brandin Cooks' doctor. He has nothing to do with the situation. He's just giving some medical expertise here. He said, Jane, here's likely how this played out. Cooks actually sustained the infection after receiving injections to the knee. This could have been cortisone, PRP, or even stem cells. Either way, the person doing the injection unfortunately failed to properly clean the area where they were injecting, and as a result, they caused a local infection to the knee. This isn't an easy problem to fix without surgery. That's when Dr. Cooper decided to perform a washout of the infected tissue and simultaneously trimmed and damaged meniscus. Again, he's not treating Brandon's case, but I just thought that was a little different insight. So Jane actually quote tweeted that and said, this is interesting, but to be clear, this doctor did not treat Brandin Cooks. So again, a lot of speculation. We don't know exactly what happened. Either way, it is a scary situation because it's not a common situation that you see, but really in any sport, much less across the NFL with something like a knee infection. You don't hear of that.
Well, I think it's nasty. Like, I think it's actually unfortunate, too, that it had to happen to Brandin Cooks or anybody, really. Yeah. But I think that when you are taking care of these players as a doctor, and I ain't going to do too much because I'm not a doctor, so I don't really know what it takes to be a doctor. But anyways, but just, like, outside looking in, if you're taking care of these players, you got to make sure, if this is the case, that the needles are clean and all that extra stuff, because this is something that you certainly don't want to have to happen. Especially to a team that's dealing with battling with a lot of injuries right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's crazy too because we see players have scopes all the time. We hear about, we see players go through ACL surgeries. We surgeries in the NFL are a common thing at this point. Yeah. And I think that, we assume like these are the best doctors, these whatever, but there always can be complications. There always can be things that go wrong. I mean, when I think about this, I think about not the same thing, but even Alex Smith, what he went through with his surgery, the complications he had because of infection. So, I mean, with Brandin Cooks, like I'm hoping he's okay as a person. I'm sure this is kind of scary. You know what I'm saying? Like when you start talking about those things, I hope he's getting the proper care he needs. And I guess his team is just going to have to move forward without him for now. What you got?
I have nothing to add. I don't want to say too much because it sounds like we're
That's
still getting information. It sounds like there were some things that align with this particular tweet that were reported in the last show. So I feel like that's all that needs to be said. But I'm with y'all. I think there's an assumption that they're working with the absolutely best medical doctors, but even they can, I guess, slip up. Because whether it was that they didn't clean the area or it was something wrong with the equipment or something went wrong for something so routine to lead to an infection that's going to ultimately keep him off the field for 1 to 3 weeks. Like something about that situation.
So were they
didn't go
trying
right.
to? I'm sorry.
No,
I didn't
you're
mean to
good.
interrupt you. My
You're
bad.
really fine.
But were they trying to avoid? It sounds like from the report they were trying to avoid having to do the scrape, right? To avoid doing the scope.
I mean, I would
We
assume.
don't know what the injections were.
Yeah, I would assume, but again, we don't know enough information to like say that much. It just kind of seems like it was probably something a little routine that they're used to doing and is very common across the NFL.
Yeah.
Especially I would assume for older players like Brandon, and just went wrong.
Guys don't get those done until typically the end of the season. Scopes. Like we've heard of guys kind of getting them in between the season, but most of the time that's
I think the scope was in response to the infection, but the injections that led to the infection were the routine part.
Right.
Okay.
That exactly.
I understand.
And so, but yes, are you asking if the scope was to avoid surgery? That's what this doctor is speculating. That the particular infection is hard to fix without surgery. So they did the scope as an alternate way of treating it to try to avoid full-on surgery.
All right.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it did a little bit. It's making me hurt inside a little bit.
I'm crying. Well, again, hopefully Brandin Cooks is okay physically and mentally. But moving forward, who does this impact the most? Because we heard from a couple of guys in the locker room. We heard from Jalen Brooks. We heard from Ryan Flanoy, who could possibly make his debut this week against the Steelers. What did you hear from Ryan Flanoy? Or even Jalen Tolbert?
Yeah, I had a lengthy conversation from my fellow yapper, Jalen Tolbert. And I asked him, because I feel like if anybody in that locker room Ryan Flanoy can relate to the most, it was him. And so I asked him, what is it like being this mentor now? And he again, it was a very lengthy conversation. He pretty much told me that he, this week, nobody in the locker room has treated Flanoy any different, because they don't want him to feel a different kind of pressure. They don't want to get in his head about it. They're very much like, all right, you're up. Yeah. Go ahead. Like, they're not treating it any differently, the whole situation. It's very much like, play it as nonchalant as you can, because the second that Flanoy gets in his head about it, that could see trickling of issues, and you see that with rookie players really everywhere. So he said for him, what he emphasized to Flanoy at the beginning of camp was just continue to do what you do and work on the things that they're telling you to work on, because the difference between his rookie year and playing and not playing was essentially those little things, which were, hey, be intentional with practice. And that was his main thing to Flanoy this whole time was, I need you to be intentional, take what they're telling you, apply it, because that's going to determine if you're playing or not. And he admittedly said that's something I didn't know as a rookie. Like, I assumed because I was a high draft pick, I was just going to go in and play. And that's not how this works, is you kind of have to earn your stride. He said, I came in very naive, and he opened up about that, how he didn't have anybody from his school prior to him that gave him this advice. And so he takes it upon himself to talk to these younger guys about kind of how the system and the reality works within the NFL. So very insightful conversation from JT to give his experiences and mold it into advice for a guy like Flanoy. But ultimately, he said, Flo's been ready. Yep. So if that tells you anything, they're confident in him, and he seems ready to go.
And that was something that Jalen Brooks had told me. He was like, the saying, preparation meets opportunity. And so I was like, dang, okay, that's more like a Ryan Flanoy type of thing. He said, yeah, because he's ready for this moment. One thing that he had mentioned is that he works endlessly, like off the field, off the practice field, day in and day out. So they have a lot of confidence in him, and the fact that this could possibly kind of interfere with Jalen Brooks's reps maybe a little bit, we don't know, but he's kind of like, hey, he deserves it, and that's something that I really do like about this locker room. It's kind of like this next man mentality, but they're not worried about it kind of diminishing their play.
Yeah.
I feel like while I'm on the same page with you guys, I'm excited to see what Flournoy can bring to the table. But I feel like this is definitely going to impact the offense, especially Dax Reed's. Because, like, even when you listen to Mike Tomlin talk about facing the Cowboys, Brandin Cooks was one of the people that he mentioned specifically by name in his press conference. And so while, yes, there are guys who can step up and who can do a job, the offense is just going to look different without Brandin Cooks on the field. Who ends up covering who is going to look different. So I think it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out and who ends up attracting attention that can help CD get open, if anybody, who ends up getting those reads after CD or after Ferguson. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see all that. So I'm excited to see Flournoy on the field, but it's also going to be interesting to see how differently the defense handles the Cowboys offense.
Yeah, and to your point, when I was kind of poking around the locker room today, the vibe I got was Flournoy was going to be a big blocking guy in this game. So I wouldn't be surprised if like the reads do change up because of Brandin Cooks' absence, to your point. But I don't know how much of the game plan in the passing game is if he's going to be involved in if he does make that debut.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit here, ladies, about what you ladies are talking about. But when you talk about Brandin Cooks and kind of his usage and his effectiveness to start this season, let's just keep it a buck here. I mean, he has like 81 yards on the season.
This is facts.
So it is, and I'm assuming we're getting this information about the knee. This has been going on because if I'm not mistaken, he was experiencing soreness during camp.
Yep.
This MCL, whatever issue, is something that he dealt with last year as well. So this might be a lingering thing from him. And it has, from a film perspective, taken away from his route running and how smooth he is coming out of his releases and his breaks and things like that. So to your point, I think you make a good point, is the fact that whoever steps up, listen, he's been playing injured. That's the information we got. Let's just keep it a buck. Like it's shown on the field. So getting another guy out there that maybe is 100%, that maybe can do some of these things, I don't know if it's going to hurt your offense. We might see something good come from it. Yeah, I don't think it's going to hurt the offense to try to get looks at other guys that we haven't gotten to see. And in regard to Flournoy, you don't really have any big body receivers right now. You lost that in Michael Gallup last year. Yeah. He's gone. And so there also is a size deficit that has played into these guys not creating separation, struggling at the point of contact and stuff like that. Ryan Flournoy he can do 50-50 things. He can do sideline catches. He has yak ability. He also, too, to your point, is a very good blocker on the outside, which is something you need right now. Might be one of the more effective blockers overall because of his size. I'm trying to look at some of the maybe positives that could come out of this. And if one of these guys, if Jalen Tolbert gets more snaps, hell yeah. That's an opportunity for him. But if it is Flournoy, I do think that it could open up, if he plays well, it could open up a part of your offense that has been lacking. And Brandin Cooks gets the opportunity to take a rest and get better so he can be, on point later in the season.
When I was saying that it might make the offense look different, I wasn't necessarily saying that it would be good or bad. I'm just like, the offense is going to look very different. As a matter of fact, to second your devil's advocacy, one of the things that Jess and I were talking about before the show, we were just looking at the stats to go along with your stat about the 81 yards, 9 catches on 19 targets. And we were looking at that and we were like yeah, if his name wasn't Brandin Cooks, we really would not be that concerned about him not being on the field. We'd probably be ready for somebody else to come up and take those reps and see what they do in terms of production. Because, I mean, yeah, a lot of respect for Brandin Cooks, but it does sound like he's been playing injured. But there's definitely room for someone to step up and bring a different look to this offense. The offense could definitely benefit from that.
And how much of that, though, is the offensive scheme to why you haven't seen a lot of Brandin Cooks?
But I also,
we can tie it all back in together.
But now I'm like,
it would make sense to why you haven't seen him.
Why you haven't seen him running past people. Why you haven't been doing some of the speed option stuff. Why you haven't been. And again, we've seen this with Mike McCarthy. He will protect his players.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so there might have been some, hey, big guy, we want you to be out there. I'm sure Brandin wants to compete.
It's impacted the scheme before we even realized it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it might be one of those things. So that's what I was saying. I'm trying to stay positive about maybe how this could open up the offense, because if you get somebody that warrants safety being like, maybe I can't roll coverage over here to CD Lamb. It's going to open up everything.
Yeah.
To your point, Ferguson, those guys. So, yeah.
Does this give the Cowboys more of an advantage heading into this game, considering
There's
the
some
fact
ambiguity.
that there's no real game plan that you can kind of game plan against as far as the Steelers' defense?
That's always
absolutely.
the case. Yeah, it's always the case. It's an unknown player, and it's an unknown opponent that we talk about.
Well, but I mean, I don't really necessarily think they're scheming against Flanoy. I think it's more Jalen Tolbert that takes the brunt of it, of who they're going to continue to look at more. And now I think this kind of changes directions from Brandin Cooks, like Tomlin had mentioned, to Jalen Tolbert. And to be fair, there's not a lot of tape on Jalen Tolbert. So it could very much be an advantage for him to have his breakout game that, you know, he's been chomping at the bit for as well.
Yes.
And going back to what Tomlin said, he said that they were going to have to play a total game because he said that if they only focus on CD and Ferg, that the other players on the Dallas Cowboys offense could, quote unquote, ruin their day. So if that's already something that they're considering, then now they have unknown unknowns to consider whenever they're looking at what a total game really means. Yeah. So, yeah, I like to play this game where I'm just like, okay, if you could have this thing, but it means not having this other thing, would you still want it? And so I feel like, I feel like most people who have been watching the Cowboys, if the Cowboys could open up their playbook and have an explosive offense, but it meant someone like Brandin Cooks wasn't on the field, like, would you still want it? And I feel like most people would be like,
This is Brandon.
Well,
what year in his contract is he in now?
This is second year.
Yeah.
This is
final year. Contract
so
year.
This is another thing that plays into it too, is getting a look at some of these receivers behind him to see if what's going to be necessary. It's a big opportunity, and I know we're going to talk about on the defensive side too. Is like later is like it's an opportunity for some of these guys too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to take our first break and come back with some practice report, a little bit of just a few minutes with Jazz, and preview this Cowboys defense and Steelers offense. We'll be right back with more Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dickey family always mandated that the only Polish-style sausage worthy of their restaurant must have high-quality coarse ground beef and pork, rich spices, and fresh natural casings. We still serve it to this day, and it's so popular, Dickey's sausage has been named the official sausage of the Dallas Cowboys. The perfect matchup on game day. Dickey's Barbecue Pit. No one outsmokes us. Order at dickeys.com. For groups, call 866-BARBECUE.
Dibs on the ribs.
Cowboys Nation, Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, is now exclusively the Dallas Cowboys app. Join the official fan club today to receive access to the all-new Cowboys Drops feature, team news, and pre-sale access, and fan and kid of the game. Download the app now to join.
Woo!
Boom.
Right now.
Mic drop.
Boom, just like that.
Well, don't do it if you have to exit out of our show. Do it after our show.
Later then. But
Do it later.
Like 5
But do
o'clock.
it. Yeah.
Bet. All right, let's run through this little practice report. This is a big practice report.
Yeah.
The Cowboys injury list, Marquise Bell full participant Wednesday.
Oh, bless the Lord.
We love that. Ding, ding, ding.
Ring the
Kaylin
bell.
Carson, limited. Brandin Cooks, of course, did not participate. Other guys who were limited, Malik Hooker, Eric Kendricks, Jordan Lewis, but today's Wednesday, so it's Veteran Rest Day.
Yeah.
Zach Martin, limited. And Micah Parsons did not participate, of course, with his midfoot injury. At least that's a little bit better, you know. Marquise Bell, having him back, what does that mean? What you like?
More help on special teams and
Yeah.
more
Love it.
depth in the safety position if you need it.
Yep.
Because it just gets scary if one of them is like, my toe hurt. Like,
Yeah.
or something. So at least you got to know you got one. Knowing you have Wanye and Marquise Bell is always a beneficial thing at this point for the
love that.
safety position.
Yeah, I feel like the safeties can help trip up Justin Fields as well. So I feel like the more safety experience you have in this game, the better. So I feel like that's going to be a key point. But to go back to Kaylin Carson, the vibe I'm getting
He wants to play.
per source.
Yeah, he wants to play.
Well, yeah, but
course.
I would say more next week. That's where I'm going to lean.
Tater
I'm going to lean
tots.
more next
Yeah.
week. I wouldn't get your hopes up. Per a very close source, I would say next week.
Well, good thing they don't
Yeah.
be, the Steelers don't be just throwing that rock down the field like that. When they do it, they a little effective sometimes, but they don't really be doing that like that. But still, I'm still nervous after last week. It was people was
All
breakdancing out there.
No, oh,
If I could get out this chair right now, I'm sick of you.
We seen
Breakdancing
people, we
is insane.
seen people
wait, breakdancing like at the Olympics? Like that one?
like it was
I'm done.
that scene off of White Chicks.
Oh,
Bro.
Lord. That's a throwback. That's
No way.
That's a classic now.
It is.
I'm so done.
To the
Anyways.
practice report.
Yes. Let's go back.
Breakdance to the practice.
Yeah,
Well,
that was
that's
only- that
that's
was
all
only
we had
half
for
of
us.
it.
That's all. That was only half of it. Sorry,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers. We got these names. Their defensive tackle Keanu Benton limited. Who did not participate was Nick Herbig, Alex Highsmith. That's a big one. Jeremiah Moon, Cordell Patterson. I'm
Yes.
sorry, Jeremiah Moon was a full participant, but who also did not participate today was Cordell Patterson, Mikael Pruitt, and Jalen Warren. Of course, Russell Wilson was limited today, but
We don't care.
we don't care.
Yeah, that doesn't pertain to us this week.
Just saying.
Probably pertains to next week.
What's the
They
big?
might not care either. Go ahead.
No, you're good. What's the biggest?
Depends on if Justin wins. Then yeah, they might not.
What is the biggest threat that you guys are concerned about for this Steelers offense? What is the biggest concern that you guys are worried about heading into Sunday?
Y'all thinking? Y'all want to go?
Go ahead.
Kind of.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where want to go?
Go.
You thinking? Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
say
go ahead.
my biggest concern is he's mobile. He's mobile. He's extremely athletic, and he can escape out the pocket, and he will do some things. Especially, he's looking for George Pickens like crazy. He fights to the ball for him, but it's just the fact that the guy, if he decides to scramble, he can hurt you. It's not as elusive as a Lamar Jackson, but it is definitely like if he's in the open field, he moving different than most quarterbacks.
I
is
got a
moving.
question to ask you because PFF has him graded as a top 5 passer when doing straight dropbacks, but which scares you the most, his arm or his mobility?
The mobility. He still is working on his accuracy and things like that. This guy is not. Their offense in general is very careful. When I say careful, it is very play within the offense. He's not going to do a whole bunch of stuff off cue, if that makes sense. It's like run a play. Run a play. And if it breaks down, he's just going to take off running and try to figure some things out. But they are very aware of, like, where he is in his development and how to not overwhelm him with what they're doing. So, yeah, I think that that's the biggest thing for me is, like, the fact that he will escape and he'll hurt you, and the Cowboys have had problems with mobile quarterbacks.
Clearly.
My biggest concern aligns with that. And so when I said that I was thinking, it was more so that I was trying to figure out how to phrase what I want to say. Because I do believe that his mobility will be a bigger threat than his arm. But it's the fact that his arm has become somewhat of a threat that points to what my actual concern is. And it's the fact that he's becoming more confident as a quarterback. And I know that's more of an intangible than a tangible thing. But what it points to is his ability to do multiple things based on the situation with the offense. So what I'm looking at. So remember when we were talking about the Ravens, and we were like, yeah, they haven't won a game yet because they were 0-2, and we were like, but their record doesn't point to how good of a team they are. It feels like the opposite with the Steelers. It almost feels like their record makes them look like a better team than what they actually are. The Colts.
Wait, say that one more time. You know,
It feels like for the Steelers, their record makes them look like a better team than they actually are. Not that they're not good, but it's like it looked to me. It looked like what the Colts were able to do is they were able to take advantage of some of the issues that Justin Fields has in ways that other teams haven't.
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of making him uncomfortable, in terms of making him a little bit flustered. And so it's like they have gotten off to slow starts. The Steelers have, but the thing is, Justin Fields has developed since he's been with the Steelers. This is something he didn't do a lot in Chicago. He's developed this ability to work with his receivers, and they'll find these voids in coverage. He's way more comfortable in the pocket. So like, yes, he will scramble. He'll create opportunities by doing that. But it's like, now, when he was with Chicago, it looked like when he would elongate the play, he was looking for an escape route. He was scared.
He was sprinting.
Now it looks like when he elongates the play, he's waiting for one of his receivers to find that void in coverage. He's looking for them. He's doing his checkdowns. He's making his reads. More often, still not perfect. And so that's one of the things that, like, as he gets better at that, and it feels like he's getting better at it week by week, it's going to become more and more of a weapon for him. It's going to become more and more of a threat that this offense brings to the table. And I'm like, now we're going into week 5. He's feeling even more confident because even though there's this possibility that, like, Russell Wilson is doing more and more at practice is what they've been reporting. And there's this talk about, okay, is Russell Wilson going to end up being the starter? But a lot of people are like, no, we like Justin Fields. Even Mike Tomlin didn't seem confident in the idea of putting Russell Wilson back in there. And if you look at Tomlin's track record with that, last season, it was because they had a similar situation late in the season. It was he stuck with Mason Rudolph even after Kenny Pickett was cleared. So Tomlin has shown that he's like, yeah, if the hand is hot, we're going to ride it, you know?
Not the
and
hot
so I
hand,
feel
that gives me trauma. That gives
I feel
me
like
trauma,
Justin
girl.
Fields is getting even more confidence from that. And I know you mentioned that you had some notes about their offensive line that could, you know, we'll see what the offensive line does. But he just seems so comfortable making decisions and just being smarter with his runs. I was reading a stat earlier about his runs, and I'll pull it up while you go.
No, I was agreeing with you that it's set up for him not to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, just even the turnover
love
percentage.
that.
He's barely turning the ball.
Love that.
Yes.
Girl.
Sorry.
What's that like?
My bad.
I also wanted to
Go ahead,
point
what
out,
you got?
too, his efficiency in the red zone.
Yeah.
And you know when he's going to turn those legs on? In the red zone. And
my
he's going to
God.
get in there.
And he's done that, and it's worked.
To me, that's the scariest part because guess where everything's condensed? And, you know, when your defense struggling against the run in the red zone and it's more condensed in that area, you gotta watch out. I also, wanted to point out the fact that this whole Russell Wilson conversation's coming back up for them. He's playing for his job. You can't tell me it doesn't make it harder for them to sit him down if he beats the Cowboys. No matter how the Cowboys look this season, whatever, you see the respect Tomlin has for this team.
Yep.
If Justin Fields can find a way to beat the Cowboys, it makes it harder to justify sitting him down and making him your second string quarterback.
I mean, not to mention the fact that when we last saw Russell Wilson, it's not like he was looking that good.
I mean, he has the name, you know, but that's my point is if Justin Fields has the stats to prove, hey, I should be your starting quarterback. I just beat your Dallas Cowboys team. We pretty much should still be an undefeated team if it wasn't for the fluke of a loss to the Colts.
Right.
We're not going to talk about it, but it makes it harder for them to not give him this job. So essentially, he's playing for his job.
Let me read this. Can I read this
Of
quick insight?
course.
And then I'm going to let you
Of
do your
course.
thing. So it says Justin Fields has recorded the second most carries, 18, and second most yards, 73, on designed quarterback runs this season. Designed runs, not him panicking and scrambling. This is
Say
designed.
that one more time.
Justin Fields has recorded the second most carries, 18, and second most yards, 73, on designed quarterback runs this season. So that's second most in the NFL. Fields has generated 855 yards. That's plus 214 rushing yards over expected on designed quarterback runs since entering the league in 2021, the third most in the NFL. The Cowboys defense has allowed the third most rushing yards over expected and the fourth most yards per carry to designed QB rushes in 2024. So it's another one of those things where it's like something that they're good at could potentially be an issue for something that the Cowboys have been struggling with on the defensive side this season.
I also want to point out there's this little stat comparison here to Patrick Mahomes, who you automatically assume is the GOAT of the quarterbacks right now, and how Justin Fields has been playing this season. All right, so far this season, Patrick Mahomes, 965 yards. Justin Fields, 975 yards. Completion percentage for Patrick Mahomes, 68.6%, 70.6% for Justin Fields. Total touchdowns, 6 and 6. Interceptions, Patty has 5. Justin has 1. Yep. Passer rating, 89.7 for Mahomes and 98 for Justin Fields. So just to tell you how he's playing in the scope of things, and given there's some things going on with the Chiefs that are kind of dampering how Patrick's playing right now. Not the point. Point is he's playing at a high level. So he has to continue to do that, and this is the team that, to me, you beat it, you solidify your starting job for the rest of the season.
One thing I was looking up, and Jazz kind of touched on this a little bit, was the fact that they've struggled with slow starts. They've only had 29 first-half points through the first 4 games. So this could be an opportunity for the Cowboys to take advantage. Granted, we didn't have some slow starts too, but this could be an opportunity, hopefully, for this offense to just score first, because we've seen how things play out when they don't.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, they're 22nd in scoring.
Yeah.
A lot of their offense is predicated off of his mobility. It is. Yeah. Like they do all of this RPO and things like that to open up the rest of the offense, and to also too, I mean, they're second highest in play action. Not a lot of success in it, which don't make no sense. But they do run play action at a high clip. And to your point, you made the point about being able to pressure him and to get him flustered and stuff. And that's something that the Colts found, is that blitzing him really puts him in a tough spot. And it depends on where you blitz him from, because sometimes they brought blitzes up the middle, but sometimes they brought him on the edge, because there's a little bit, you don't want him to escape. So to bring it from the edge, to go back to our early conversation about the safeties, about things, when you look into the Cowboys defense and the fact that you are lacking your 2 best edge rushers, how does Zimmer manufacture pressure? We might see more blitzes, specifically this week with this guy, from the edge to be able to contain him, and also, too, to get there quickly, because he can improvise, like you were talking about, Jazz. So that's something that, and they're getting a lot of pressure through play action. Yeah. Like when they're doing play action plays, it's getting a lot of pressure and it's flustering him. But yeah, they're committed. They're also really committed to running the ball, y'all.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we got to go. Go ahead.
No, we're going to go ahead and take our second break. And up next, we're going to talk about that run game for the Steelers. So we'll be right back. You're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back.
We need more.
The Dickey family always mandated that the only Polish-style sausage worthy of their restaurant must have high-quality coarse ground beef and pork, rich spices, and fresh natural casings. We still serve it to this day, and it's so popular, Dickey's sausage has been named the official sausage of the Dallas Cowboys. The perfect matchup on game day. Dickey's Barbecue Pit. No one outsmokes us. Order at dickeys.com. For groups, call 866-BARBECUE.
Dibs on the ribs.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Cancer awareness with the 2024 Crucial Catch Collection. The NFL donates 100% of its proceeds from the Crucial Catch merchandise to the American Cancer Society to provide cancer screenings and resources to underserved communities. Visit a pro shop near you or log on to shop.dallascowboys.com, a Fanatics experience, and join the fight against cancer.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
Go shop.
I love that. Go shop. All right, ladies, we're going to talk about this run game real quick. What concerns you? Biggest threats? Go. What do y'all see from Najee Harris? I'm going to go Jazz this time. Actually, wait, no, we didn't do just a few minutes with Jazz. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's
Give
go
her
just a few minutes.
My few minutes. So my just a few minutes today is based on conversations in the locker room as opposed to anything that was seen in practice. So today there were more guys in the locker room than there have been in a while. So I took the opportunity to catch up with a few people who I haven't really talked to, maybe even since the Saints game. I went to Tyler Guyton to talk to him about some of the things that Schottenheimer was saying about just the self-scouting. I don't know if y'all saw Schotty's last press conference, but he talked about Tyler Guyton a good bit. Yeah. And so I wanted to get Guyton's perspective on how he felt about the self-scouting and how that was going. And he acknowledged that he knew that he had things that he needed to work on. And he said that self-scouting is something that he's done before, but it has been helpful to do it and to watch film with coaches. And that although he does know what he needs to work on and what he's improving, he feels like it's more of a process than a lot of people acknowledge. And so for that reason, he's just trying to tune out the noise. He said that there are some people who will talk, I'll say mess, that will talk mess about him, but they'll compliment him at the same time. So he just tries to tune it all out, focus on the fact that he is improving, he knows what he needs to work on, and just stick to the process. I also talked to Mozzie, who had a standout game on Thursday, and he said one of the things that helped him was focusing on his game and remembering that there was a reason that he was brought here. He said that this was one of the games where he didn't focus as much on what everybody else was doing. Like he said that he still recognized that what he was doing was he was doing a job for the team, but when it came to each snap, he focused on the guy in front of him and just dominating the guy in front of him and winning that rep. And that seemed to make a huge difference. So I was just like, yeah, keep doing that. That was dope. And then other than that, I talked to a few guys on defense who seemed to all kind of echo the same thing. I talked to Wanye, I talked to Maris Lufau, and I talked to Chauncey. I really talked to Wanye and Chauncey because they're two of the guys who are expected to take on different roles, maybe bigger roles this week. And they didn't really say anything specific about what those roles would be, but they did say that they are just ready to do their jobs. Nobody really seems to be scared or upset about the fact that Micah and D-Law won't be there, or that Micah probably won't be there and that D-Law won't be there. They're all focused on doing their jobs, and they all seem to echo this idea of being blessed to play this game and just focus on whatever they're doing. And I even asked Chauncey, I was like, so wherever they put you, and he was like, they can put me on the interior, they can put me at the 6, whatever, I have a job to do. And I was like, so you're just gonna go out there and focus on doing your job, and that's just it. And smiling the whole time, he's just like, yeah, whatever job they give me, I'm going to do it. And Wanye pretty much said the same thing. And y'all know Maris, he's so chill. Yeah. I was like, so yeah, people are talking about you, Mar. He's like, are they really? And I was like, yeah, they're excited about your gameplay. He's like, oh, that's cool. So everybody seems to be in a good place mentally going into this weekend.
How confident are y'all in this defensive line being able to repeat what they did?
You know, if they plug up that interior, it's not too far off to say they can stop the run. Here's the thing about the Steelers. They're going to run the ball. You know that. Najee Harris, going to run the ball. But what I've noticed is they kind of need their 1-2 punch, and Cordell Patterson being questionable this week could really do a lot. Because here's the thing. What you need, Najee will run downhill, but Cordell Patterson, he Mazi's your up the middle guy, and he was averaging 7.1 yards per carry. Najee's not going to do that. He doesn't really have the burst, if you will, that he used to. But what I will say is if you can shut down the run, allow Justin Fields to pass and start to panic a little bit, look, you have yourself a chance. And so if they can plug up the middle, after we talked to Mazi there for a little bit today, it seems like his confidence level is right where it needs to be.
He has some good tape to look at. It's
was
encouraging.
So cool to talk to. I haven't talked to him since OTAs, so catching up with him today was really cool to see kind of where he was at. And he's like, I asked, was it the coaching staff? What is it? And he's like, everyone just believes in me, man. Like, it's really, everybody has confidence in me, and they've helped me keep confidence in myself. And he's religious, so he talked about like having faith in God for everything that has happened, and he's in a really good headspace. And so now, after last week's game where they're gassing him up a little bit, he was like, like being humble about it. And what I really like about it is he talked about his first year, just the difference coming in last year to now. Look, when you have a guy like Mazi building confidence, you have a game like this that you need to win, because what you cannot do is afford to lose these next 2 games before your bye week. He knows that. He understands that. And you stop the run, starts with Mazi, plugging up that interior. I think you have a really good shot at this, at winning this game.
I agree. No, go ahead. What's up?
I think that relates to something else that Wanye said, and that also answers your question, Nicole, because when I asked him specifically about, I was like, so you're not concerned about, about Micah possibly not being there, D-Law not being there. And he was like, well, yeah, obviously you can't exactly replace those guys, but we believe in Mazi, we believe in, and he just started listing guys and talking about belief in them. So on that note, I do think a lot of the good things that we saw on Thursday are duplicable. I do believe that Mazi can have a similar performance. I think he has that in him. Maybe not so much with the twist stunts. I wouldn't expect to see that again. But I do believe that that on that note, a lot of the good things that they did are things that they can bring back to the game. I don't think that was something exclusive to their last opponent that they can't bring to the Steelers also.
Yeah, and you guys, we're in regard to their run game, obviously it starts with their offensive line. With Jalen Warren is their running back that is dealing with a knee injury. Now, if he would have been playing, I would have been a little bit mixed stressed. And it's just because the change of direction, the acceleration, some of those shifty guys kind of give the Cowboys some issues as well when they can get to the outside. So not knowing what his I don't know if he's going to play. I think they already said that he's kind of dealing with this knee that he's kind of been dealing with already. So to your point, just talking about Cordell Patterson, him maybe not being 100% and stuff. They have some injuries to their running backs. But really, like I said, it starts with the offensive line. Zach Frazier, we talk about the Mazi matchup. He's going to be going up against another rookie center in Zach Frazier. And Zach Frazier has had some trouble with his snaps. He's had some trouble with the timing of his snaps, them being too high and things like that. I'm sure that's something that those guys have probably picked up on as well. And then also, too, as far as their offensive line goes, you have some replacements coming in. James Daniels is going to be is out dealing with an Achilles injury, their right guard. So Mason McCormick, who I covered during the draft, super athletic, not the most powerful, but can do some things on the move. But he can get to the second level real quick in a hurry and has some good balance. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. And then also, too, Troy Fontenot, their right tackle, has been out he dealt with a dislocated knee, had some ligament issues. Broderick Jones is playing in his place, and he has his fair share of some issues. So you can attack the right side of that offensive line from this defensive line standpoint, but the matchup between Zach Frazier and Mazi is going to be really fun to watch because Zach is getting a feel for the NFL, and so is Mazi. So to see those guys go at it is going to be interesting. And two, their tight ends are involved a lot in their running.
Yes.
They are committed to that. Darnell Washington, Connor Hayward, and Pat Firmith, if that's how you say it, I would expect for them to be helping out on the outside.
Yep.
These guys are reliable, but they're not going to kill you in the pass game. You're not, we're not going to sit up here and be like, They don't have a Jake Ferguson.
Yeah.
They don't. But they do have some guys and a fullback that will help them in the run game, and they will go 13 personnel, super heavy. So to y'all's point earlier, the guys are going to have to get off of blocks because these guys their tight ends will actively try to block well. They don't sustain them too well.
Yeah.
I was gonna
They
say
don't sustain them too well. Like they
yeah.
are, and that's why we're looking at them like, man, they love to run the ball, but they're not scoring a whole bunch of points. They're committed to doing things, but it doesn't mean they do them well, as you were talking about earlier, Jazz. So, yeah, and the good thing about the Cowboys defense going up against them, though, is that they don't do a lot of motion and fancy sprinkles and stuff. They are very much so like their coach, Black Forces. We're going to beat you straight up. And so this defense will have the opportunity to go hat on hat, which I do think that they do better and will give them a better chance to win the game.
Before we wrap things up,
Oh.
what you said? Go ahead, go for it.
Oh, building off what you were saying about Zach Frazier, I do think that will be essential because going back to what we've been saying about these slow starts, I think that one of the keys for the Cowboys will be to take advantage of the slow start and put the Steelers behind. Because when I noticed that they were getting these slow starts, I had to go back and look at the beginning of each game. And I'm not going to read the play that happened on every single snap. But essentially, the Steelers are not scoring until late in the first quarter or early in the second. So that gives the Cowboys plenty of time to score early. So what the defense needs to do, some of those botch snaps you talked about, that's actually been the reason for the slow starts. If you do look at like either the plays leading up to their first score or like their first 15 that a lot of people like to look at, you're seeing a lot of short runs, like 2 and 3 yards. Some of the plays are even negative plays. Like they had a short pass that was like -5 yards, and that's happening a lot. And then I see the words scramble and aborted snap a lot.
Yes.
So those are things that for whatever reason, they're coming out and in the very beginning, it's taking those two a little while to find their chemistry and find their rhythm. So that's really going to be when Mozzie and the rest of the defense needs to put their foot on the Steelers' neck and not let up. Like, no, we're not going to let you find a rhythm. We're not going to let you get chemistry. Like how y'all came out here, like get real comfortable in that position because we're not going to let you get any more than that. So 2 and 3 yard runs, that's what you get. So do what you can with it.
Yeah.
That's
you
it.
get what you get.
Y'all
And that's
are
it.
stupid.
Exactly.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
That's
No.
it. DASSIT.
Make them
That's
put the
it.
ball on the ground. Make them put the ball on the ground.
I need a defensive X factor. Go. Defensive player on the Cowboys. Who's gonna be the X factor?
Overshown.
Just real fast. Overshown? Okay.
Yes. You can say why. You can do the
Oh,
why.
no. I don't
Well, who
have
you
a
got?
player. My X factor is going to be the penalties that you can draw from an inexperienced offensive line to set them behind the sticks even more.
Okay.
I like that.
Make them play behind the sticks.
Dang it, I don't want to think
goodness.
of one. X Factor.
I can cheat and give you a player. Mozzie
I was gonna go
Smith.
Mozzie.
Okay, one of y'all got to choose it. Choose a different one.
I'll choose
I'll
a
choose a
different
I'll choose a different one.
one. Okay.
Dang.
Chauncey.
I'm gonna go. Nah. I'm gonna
Trayvon
go.
Diggs. There you go.
Nah.
That's a good one.
You said Demo.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna go Kendricks. I'm gonna go Kendricks.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Kendricks.
All right. I'm going to go Jordan Lewis.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm going to go Jordan Lewis because
That's a good one.
they have been doing some things where they get Pickens in the slot, which is weird. Whatever. Not my business. They put him in the slot. I don't know how that matchup is going to work. I don't know if, to your point, you mentioned Trayvon, if Trayvon ends up traveling with him because of the scrambling or whatever. But they do have a gentleman, last name Austin. I think is it Calvin Austin? Girl, can you read your handwriting? But his last name is Austin, and he is their slot guy. And those guys have given the Cowboys defense some trouble. But Jordan Lewis has been solid in the slot. And I'm sure they might be trying to do some things quick. So Jordan Lewis is going to be my guy.
All right. Well, we're gonna dive more deep into this tomorrow at 4:00 p.m. So make sure to stick with us here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see y'all back here tomorrow.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?